that is a bunch of crap, because it's about our quality of life and not just getting through something in an unpleasant way. Like, why do we have to suffer? So, and also listening to your body, your intuition, being like, I don't have to worry so much about taking care of kids anymore or what people think anymore. So it's such a freeing time. And I work with people who don't really know themselves, haven't really set boundaries, have taken care of everybody else all their life. And now they're like, I want to live differently and maybe get out of my dumb marriage that I've been in for a while, or change jobs or whatever. But it's just, it's never too late to find your way. And if you piss a few people off along the way, oh well.
Welcome back, my listeners. Today I'm joined by the incredible Katie Beecher. She is a medical and a spiritual intuitive, a licensed professional counselor, and internationally recognized healer whose work has been featured in Goop, Poosh, Miranda Kerr's blog, Coast to Coast AM, Bloom TV, and so many more. She has over 35 years of experience and more than 200 features across media, podcasts, and summits. Katie is known for her unique intuitive readings, where she creates a detailed 4-page report and a stunning intuitive soul painting, knowing only the person's name and age. Let me tell you, I was absolutely fascinated with this skill, and we will get into it in this episode. Katie brings a powerful blend of science, intuition, and lived experience to her work. And in this podcast, you're going to hear her story, her awakening. Since then, she's helped countless people address the root cause of illness and emotional distress, drawing upon her own profound healing journey. Now she's age 60, and she's not only a champion for midlife vitality. Listen to this. She's also a 2-time national champion pole and aerial athlete. So incredible. And she has been breaking down stereotypes about aging, menopause, and feminine strength. Wow. Love it. Her best-selling book, Heal From Within, A Guide to Intuitive Wellness, offers us, the readers, grounded, research-backed approach to intuitive healing and self-discovery. Katie's story and her work are a beautiful reminder that healing is both an art and a practice of deep listening to our bodies, our intuition, and our soul's truth. I can't wait for you to hear her story. Please join me in welcoming Katie Beecher to the Menopause Disrupted podcast. Katie, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited.
So much to unpack. Let's begin. I always love to begin, being a true communicator that I was for over 24 years in PR. I always like to begin with the person's backstory.
Certainly. So I've always been able to know that there was something more than what we can see and hear. Even as a very young child, I would hear voices in my head and be able to communicate with animals and know what other people were thinking. I had this BS meter, especially with a pretty dysfunctional family, and being like, this is not okay and this isn't real. And thankfully, I felt like I had some guidance along the way, even like at 3. And so really empathic and sensitive and all the things that are annoying and also cool. And around when I was 16, I was in the throes of an eating disorder, really, really bad, throwing up 3 times a day, suicidal, just had it with the whole thing. And I came home from school and decided to call our pediatrician without telling my parents at all, because they wouldn't have been any help. And I said, I'm making myself throw up and I need help. And it was 1983, so no one really talked about eating disorders then. Yeah. And he said, you'll probably be fine, blah, blah, blah. And I said, no, definitely not fine. But he hooked me up with a Jungian psychologist. And Jung stuff is all about spirituality and intuition and self-love and symbolism and all the cool things that I had in my life already, but didn't know what to do with. So I worked really hard and learned how to do a lot of the things that I teach in my book, like talk to your body and talk to your guides and find self-love and look at the messages behind your symptoms and how to befriend your disorders and all kinds of good stuff. And didn't really know what to do with being a medium or an intuitive, but I always worked really intuitively in my sessions because I became a licensed counselor shortly, right after I got my bachelor's and master's. And eventually the abilities became stronger and stronger, and I couldn't really pretend I didn't have them. And so I started working as a medical intuitive. It's not just medical, it's physical, emotional, and spiritual. So I really tune into the whole person. And with just a name and an age, I create a 4-page report, really detailed about a person's entire life. So it's childhood and career and relationships and intuitive abilities and physical stuff and emotional stuff and trauma and all the things. And then I also create an intuitive soul painting, which is a symbolic way of showing what's going on in people's bodies and their energy fields. And so, yeah, I'm really fortunate to be doing this work and love talking about menopause because it's so important, and perimenopause and all the things. And I'm 60. So I told my doctor that they're going to take my hormones out of my cold, dead hands.
My gosh, I could take this in a million directions, but the first one that comes to mind, and true to the name of this podcast, Menopause Disruptor, just exactly how bridging clinical psychology and medical intuitive counseling into disrupting the status quo of the medical interventions that have been out there to treat women or not, because let's face it, we have been outright dismissed and ignored in research. How does the work you do totally disrupt the status quo?
I love talking about this, and also just the concept of aging and age stereotypes and all those things, right? So I'm pretty disruptive myself. So I'm 60, as I said. I am a pole sport athlete, and I do aerial arts, and I've won 2 national championships on pole.
Fantastic.
Oh. Right. Started 6 years ago. I love it. It's the best thing I've ever done for myself. I couldn't do anything when I started. So people who think, yeah, I've been good at this my whole life, no, not at all. And it's just so empowering because I feel better about my body than ever. I feel better about myself. Coming from an eating disorder background, I have to wear basically a bikini to stick to the pole, or I fall on my head and die. So I had to get over that really quickly. And it's so fun to be in classes with people half my age or less than that and be able to inspire them. Be like, age doesn't matter. Yeah. So just by the way I live my life, I like to be a disruptor. But so much of health, especially women's health, emotional and spiritual and physical, is holistic, and it should be from a root cause perspective. And with women, especially menopausal stuff, it's sort of like, well, if you're not having hot flashes, you're fine. If you're not having symptoms, you're just fine. And you don't really need a sex drive anymore. You don't need to have any energy or enjoy life, or it's just, menopause is just something you get through. And I'm like, that is a bunch of crap, because it's about our quality of life and not just getting through something in an unpleasant way. Like, why do we have to suffer? So, and also listening to your body, your intuition, being like, I don't have to worry so much about taking care of kids anymore or what people think anymore. So it's such a freeing time. And I work with people who don't really know themselves, haven't really set boundaries, have taken care of everybody else all their life. And now they're like, I want to live differently and maybe get out of my dumb marriage that I've been in for a while, or change jobs or whatever. But it's just, it's never too late to find your way. And if you piss a few people off along the way, oh well. So
it's been coined by Ayurvedic practitioners And two things about the menopausal transition. One, it's the time of the great reveal. This is a common thread that's in my podcast episodes, and that what we have not dealt with, and let's face it, women are good at pretending, masking, shelving away, and putting everybody else first so we can avoid taking care of ourselves. And so they'll come to bear because estrogen leaves the body, which is that great protective mechanism. And then two, Ayurveda says that it's the age of wisdom, a time to truly get to know our bodies. And I love how you coin that. It's not just the physical body, but it's the energetic body, the emotional body, the spiritual body, the intuitive body. And so it's that time to really get to know who we are on all planes of existence, if you will. So let's talk about the work that you do with women to help them get comfortable with some of these woo-woo concepts, for lack of a better terminology, like spirituality and tapping into what's already there to heal within. How do you work with your clients in that direction?
I would say this is a perfect time to break for a word from our sponsors. Guess what? You, my listeners, are my sponsors. That's right. I would love it if you could support the show. Helping me will help bring these amazing episodes to you each and every week, just packed full of information to help you on your menopause journey. And to support the show, all you have to do is go into the show notes and click just above where you read Meet Your Host. In green is Support the Show. You click on the button and it'll bring you to a page where you have the option to donate monthly, 3, 5, 8, 10. You can be a loyal supporter for as long as you want with recurring fee as little as $3 a month and opt out at any time. Each investment goes directly back into producing episodes with even better content, improved audio quality, and will go a long way in bringing great guests onto the show.
So the first thing I want to say is I am about the least woo-woo, really woo-woo person you will ever meet, because I feel like intuition is natural. We're born with it. Medical intuition is really natural. When we, or our kids, let's say, or somebody we know, when you start to have symptoms, when you get a stomachache, okay, you immediately have to tune in, and because it gets your attention. And the worse the stomachache is, the more it gets your attention, because you may have been ignoring it. But you have to do something like, okay, do I need to lay down? Did I just eat something that was weird? Do I need to have some crackers? Do I need to throw up? Do I need to? You're automatically starting to do this detective work.
Right.
And especially with gut, because the gut is one of my bat signals and a lot of other people. And what I mean by that is I may have gut symptoms before I realize that I'm anxious about something, or I may realize it a little bit and my husband will be like, you seem nervous. And I'm like, yeah, I'm fine, whatever. But then my gut will be like, oh yeah, this is what's going on and you need to pay attention. So I really like to help people to tune into that in a natural feeling way and let them know that there's nothing special about me. I do have some pretty wild abilities, but there's nothing that I do that you can't do for yourself, to a certain degree as well. And it's really a really important part of my sessions and my book that I teach people how to do that.
Wow, that's incredible. So then how can women start to see their midlife and this transition as that bigger invitation to go deeper into some of that embodiment work, that intuitive feeling, and rather than fear it, look at it as little breadcrumbs, if you will, to take bigger, bolder agency in their health, much like you did at age 16 by taking agency, picking up the phone.
Crazy. Yes, I love that. So I'd like to start with the concept of just some self-acceptance. Because self-love feels pretty out of reach for a lot of people. We're very hard on ourselves.
Of course.
It feels kind of like, wow, I don't know if I'll ever get there. But how about just getting to know yourself? Self-acceptance, good, bad, ugly. So a really great tool is just start a list on your phone or whatever and start listing things about you. So judgment, and it can be the color of your hair. It can be, I like this food, or I really hate this one. Or it doesn't have to be this big, huge stuff, just little tidbits about who you are, what's important to you, what you don't like. And the more you start thinking that way, the more that when you are approached by a certain person or introduced to a different opportunity or something, you start to think, does that resonate with me? Is that good for me? Am I getting red flags about maybe this isn't a great person for me or job or something? So you immediately start to look at life from what do I need? Who am I? Instead of what's going on outside of me. And I like to teach people that intuition is basically a source of unconditional love and acceptance.
Right.
Like a bodyguard, something that knows everything about you and loves you. And the more you get what you need from spirit, intuition, whatever you want to call it, because whatever you call it doesn't matter, the less important it is what other people are doing and saying and thinking, and the less important it is what people think of you. So if you are your foundation, everything kind of flows from there.
Oh my goodness. So much of the work of Gary Zukav at the Seat of the Soul is coming to mind right now for me, and that he really teach us to tap into the soul purpose, the lessons to learn in the soul journey, understanding that there's parts of our personality that are there to live in a material world or into a human body, if you will. But as we go deeper into the soul and get to know that soul, who we are at the foundation, the root of who we are spiritually, that those parts of our personalities start to fall off. And for me, I feel like when I was reading that part of that chapter, I really felt like there's parts of my personality that didn't exist or had existed perimenopause or pre-perimenopause, and were there probably to protect me just to survive in the corporate workplace. And now there are parts of my personality that are showing up. Others have fallen off. And it's like, I sometimes feel like a different woman almost sometimes. And if it wasn't for the work that have done as a menopause doula, I think it would have scared the shit out of me. Because I'm questioning things that I used to do or like perimenopause or pre-perimenopause. And I think, well, I love who I am today. I wouldn't want to change it for all of the broken parts or the faults in the stars.
Ah.
But looking back, I think, oh, that poor, stubborn, unaware woman, girl, who she was. So let's talk about that personality part, which is by and large the material part of who we are, just I guess to protect the ego. I'd like to unpack that some more.
Yeah, so I really love Jungian psychology because Jung gets into all of this stuff of the different aspects of who you are and where they came from.
Yeah.
And they all serve a purpose. And maybe you got some of them from other people, or we get them from our experiences, but to look at ourselves in totality and be like, there are parts of me that are pretty darn great and serve me pretty well. And then there are parts that get in my own way and give me these messages of you're not good enough, or what is somebody going to think, and narcissism and being really loving and giving. And we all have these parts, right? So I think the more we get to know ourselves from a non-judgmental perspective and be like, okay, I'm not going to spend a lot of time like feeling guilty or feeling bad about the things in my past that I did that didn't serve me, other than to learn from them, right? And I'm going to allow new experiences and new ways of doing things. And it's like, if you had told me 10 years ago that I would be on a pole, okay, doing some pretty cool acrobatics in a bikini, competing on a stage in front of an entire auditorium of people. Any of those little parts, I would have been like, you are out of your freaking mind. There's just no way. And because I found something I love that helps me to get to know myself and express myself and be creative and these things that I would have been terrified, literally terrified. My family used to make fun of me and they'd be like, you won't even put on a bathing suit. And now here you are. So, and I think that the older I got, the more I figured out these are the people who matter. These are the people maybe who not only don't matter, but don't even know me. And I'm going to do more of what I want. And the more you challenge those fears, and it doesn't happen overnight. I'm not going to say this is easy. It's little by little breadcrumbs, like you said. But the more you challenge those fears, the more you realize that, oh, maybe I can do that. Maybe I didn't need to be so afraid of that. And okay, well, maybe that person got mad at me, but maybe I didn't really need that relationship, or just really cool things happen when we evolve.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Look at the trajectory of your life from eating disorders, which is profoundly rooted in an absence of self-love and trying to fit in. And let's face it, back in 83, it was all about the magazines, right? People magazine, what we looked like. They would even put your weight in brackets next to the celebrity's name. What the hell? So no wonder that girls who grew up in the early Gen X generation were just inundated with you're not good enough. And so to go right through that full spectrum of your life to being there, like you said, front and center in a bikini on a stage, wrapping your legs around a pole. What? What a testimony that is. But like you said, it's not always easy. So I don't, this is just absolutely fascinating because the question of my name and my age, and you can do all that, but we'll get back to that. For that journey to bring in a woman through that journey. And I think at some level, we all have that highly sensitive nature, that empathy is probably one of the strongest woman's intuition to be able to break free of all those societal norms and just become that full soul expression of who we're meant to be. So, do you recognize that empathy within individuals and help them ignite it? Or what else is it within the individuals, the women that you work with, to help them bring out all those traits that they need to move past fear into acceptance and self-love?
So when you were talking, one of the things that came up is that so many humans, but especially women, are really, really sensitive. Like when I was so overly sensitive that it was painful.
Oh,
And I think a lot of people can relate to that, especially women. So what that sometimes leads to is being able to feel other people's pain. And then as women, we're told that it is your job to fix it or take care of. Maybe we watched our moms do that.
right.
Maybe we thought that was how we were supposed to be. And you got a lot of acceptance and kudos for that. Good girl, you're doing all this stuff. And so one of the things that I do, and people who come to me, I have to say, some have physical illnesses, some have emotional stuff, some just want to know more about themselves and their lives and how to connect to intuition, or they're in a relationship. So it's all over the place. It's not just people who are sick. So, but a really common theme seems to be, what do I do with these really strong feelings? What do I do when I'm really, really sensitive? I have a hard time maybe tuning people out, or I'm afraid to hurt people's feelings. I'm afraid that if I say what I need to say or set boundaries, that I'm going to hurt somebody else. Or so one of the things that I like to teach people is, number one, and this are not my words, it's a very wise person who said this to me, other people's pain might be the best gift you ever gave them.
Oh.
Because sometimes we need that pain to grow and learn. I am so grateful for the eating disorder, because if that had not happened, first of all, I'd be dead, because I hated myself. And it was having to go through that struggle and reach rock bottom to be like, this is not working. You have to make a change. So it took that to separate me from my dysfunctional family. It took that to help me to get to know and to come to terms with my weird abilities. So I like to help people see the challenges that they're going through as messengers.
Yeah.
Things that they can learn from, and even the sensitivity, like, use it as a tool, but also know that you are in control of your energy at all times. So you can't actually absorb other people's energy, even though you think you do. You have the control. So it's like, if I walked around open all the time, my life would be really overwhelming. But as a therapist, as coming from a dysfunctional family, as an intuitive, I've had to learn to turn it off and on so that I can protect myself from the rest of the world, and then also tune in when I need to too. So we all have that ability.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. So that is fascinating. How then, okay, I'm going to switch gears a little bit because it's niggling on me. When people come to work with you, Goop describes it as eerily accurate when people come to work with you, or just provide you with their name and their age to help them with I'm going to call it their soul map, right? Your 4-page document, but a soul map, a visual representation of what's happening so that they know they can start identifying where to make those wise choices to step into the greater version of themselves, I like to think, certainly in the context of the midlife transition. Okay, first of all, the very first time you ever did that, like, how did you figure out that this was actually something and it worked?
So, yeah, my mom got really sick and I became her caretaker. And that really rocked my world, because everything I had been doing before then, I had to stop. And it makes she almost died. Well, she eventually did die, but at the time she had almost died. And it really made you look at, like, what's important, what's not. Is the stuff that I've been doing every day that I thought was important actually important? And it made me want to go deeper. And so I don't know how things appear sometimes, right? And I heard the term medical intuition. And I thought, I've always been super interested in medicine. I came pretty close to going to medical school. I have the intuition background. Like, what is this? So I read Mona Lisa Schultz, his pretty famous medical intuitive, and took a look at her book. And she happened to be doing a 3-day workshop eons ago. And it was just like introduction to it. What is it? What does it mean? What are chakras? Stuff like that. So she was like, I'm going to give you a name and age, and I want you to just write down everything you can about person. And we didn't know if it was a person or animal or whatever. And I'm like, there's no way in hell. Like, I'm going to be so embarrassed. I'm not going to be able to do this. This is insane. And I started to write things down. And then I started to see the people or the animals, like, not even knowing it was an animal. I started to see these people and see characteristics. And one of them was this older woman, and I saw her like hunched over, and I knew what color hair she had, and I could see inside her body, and I knew like things about her emotionally. And it just was, the more we did it, the more I knew. And I'm like, how is this happening to me? And she even said, I don't know what you actually do, but you should probably think about doing this. And it was just really mind-blowing and eye-opening, which is why I really encourage people, do things you haven't done before. Do things that scare you. Find out more stuff. And when I did a workshop up in Omega and I did this exercise with people.
Right.
And they thought the same thing. They're like, no, I'm not gonna be able to do this. I'm like, just write it down for yourself. It's not a quiz. I'm not gonna embarrass you. And they were pretty blown away by how much they knew about the person that I was talking about with just a name and age too. So a lot of us have more abilities than we think, right? So it was, then I said, there's something to this. And I just started practicing on friends, dead relatives, because it don't have to be alive for me to do this, on their pets. I just kept practicing. And I was involved with a spiritualist church at the time too. For people who don't know what spiritualist churches are, it's a place where you could go get intuitive readings and psychic readings and energy healing. And they believe in us living after we die and all the things and spirit communication and pretty cool stuff. But I just kept learning and learning and learning, and my abilities have grown, and I've just discovered more about it. So if you ask me how I do it, I honestly can't tell you. But wow. People get the reports and the paintings because I send them before I meet with them. I can't BS this. You get this before I meet with you. And then during the meeting, I get tons more information from my guides too. So, but they're always like, how? You already know me. This is so cool. Like, we've already done so much work because I don't have to tell you all of this stuff.
Oh my goodness.
And yeah, it's really awesome. And it allows us to do so much, get so much done in an hour. So some people don't even need another appointment, and some people want to work with me more. But you can get so much out of that first appointment.
Oh, wow. Okay. Sign me up first.
Awesome.
And second, you said something that I'm going to hone in on: my guides.
Okay.
My guides. Okay. So I'm a big believer in guides, but tell us a little bit about what that means. First of all, guides, and to work with guides.
Wonderful question. When I first was taught how to connect to my intuition when I was 16, thank you, God, for bringing me this person. I had no clue what I was doing. It was so weird. And I'm just like, I don't know. Like, I knew the concept of having a voice in my head, and I just called it God, which is great. And it just felt like love. And she taught me to, even though this feels weird and foreign and all that stuff, try to connect to a piece of you that loves you unconditionally. That's the goal. And so I called it God. And the more I did it, the more I realized that I was also talking to my intuitive guides. I was also talking to whatever's in spirit. So it felt like a bunch of different entities and people, even people like my grandparents and things like that. So the name guides, I think, can be overwhelming and misleading only because it puts pressure on people to define it. So when I think about my guides, I know that there is a centuries old man who is involved in American Indian traditions. There's a couple of women of different ages who have Latino, Aztec-y things. Never seen their faces, so I only have an image of what they look like. And then my grandparents are there, and then I see this half table, and the initial guides are like the first people on that circular table. And then I just see rows and rows and rows and rows of beings. And we all have a team. Yeah. So, and we're all connected. And even quantum physics, we're all connected, right? Collective unconscious, all of the. So I think that we draw from not only spiritual beings, if you will, but also ancestors and beliefs and DNA and myths and all the good Jungian stuff.
For you and I to sit down and have this conversation, well, first of all, 20 years ago, having this conversation on podcasting was unheard of in the virtual space. But just to see the topic alone, 20 years ago would have been witch, crazy, hormonal. Whereas today, today we have these conversations and everyone lights up. I really feel that we are living in such a great time, but a precipice of massive change. And now the world is becoming more introduced because of these channels, these platforms, introduced to people like yourself, Katie. And this is bringing, I think, so much hope and encouragement at a time where there's climate anxiety, there's political unrest, not to bring us down that road, but I don't think we can exist in all the parts of who we are without being consciously aware of and even stressed out by these external factors. And then you pair that with the menopausal journey, which is so massively disruptive in itself with the hormone shifts. And so, how then do you feel that spirituality, this awakening to spirituality, is in itself almost like a panacea, that one cure medicine that she could always turn to?
The first thing I want to say is I love your outlook because I agree with it. And it saddens me when I hear from people who tell me that I am Satan, what I do is against the Bible, that fear-based patriarchal stuff. And it really, really makes me sad because it's people, mostly women, but even men too, who are shutting off a whole side of themselves because of things that they don't understand and think they can't control. So that makes me very, very sad because everything I do is based in love and God, and it's just to help people's lives and help empower them, which can be scary. So there's that. But I really do feel like embracing spirituality, which to me means connection with love, connection with each other, connection with your authentic self, helps you to be the most you can be and be happy. And if we're listening to ourselves and have self-love, then we can help others feel that way too. And every single time I work with people, there is always a connection between what is wrong, so physical illness, emotional illness, something like that, and a lack of self-love and self-acceptance. And then that goes along with not being able to express who you fully are and pushing that down. So when I was going through my recovery, I heard loud and clear, with acceptance, with self-acceptance, self-love, and connection to intuition, you can heal from just about anything. And they told me that was going to be the centerpiece of my work and my book. And it's just keeps every person I work with, I'm just like, there it is again.
Yes. Again, it goes right back to that earlier point. It starts with the self-love.
Mm-hmm.
And now, of course, a lot of us have had incidents because it's not necessarily genetics. As we've heard before, genes load the gun, but the environment pulls the trigger. And so we're not preordained or predestined because of our genetics to be a certain way, be it a neurodivergent trait. We're exposed to things that bring trauma to the body. And then it is, I understand, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, it's our ability to cope with that trauma that masks the true essence of who we are and interferes, places obstacles in the way for us to be authentic and to truly love and know thyself. So your work does broach onto past traumas and childhood traumas and
Yes.
neurodivergent traits. Tell us a little bit how that comes into play then in the healing journey.
Yeah, very, very much. When I look into someone's life, time as we know it, it does not exist. So I see someone's lifetime right in front of me, and from childhood to whenever, wherever. And the way that I know that something is like current is it's a louder voice, it's a clearer picture, something like that. And it's more faint if it's maybe happened to them in childhood, or if it's related to somebody else they care about or love, because I get messages for people they care about too, because that's how we operate. So I don't believe that people have to rehash every single thing that happened to them in their childhood. And I work with some people who've dealt with unbelievably severe abuse, like through Catholic Church stuff or incest or cults or things like that. Just such sad, scary stuff. And so a lot of the time, because they have developed these coping mechanisms to survive, the feelings get pushed down and emotions get pushed down, and they do come out in the body and all that other good stuff. But it's like, how is that stuff still impacting you? Are you still hearing voices from people during that time? Is the way that you were made to feel then, like you didn't matter, like all the things, is that still impacting you? I'm a really big one on looking at now and how to move forward rather than just dwelling on the past, even though the past does shape who we are. So it's more about like moving forward and living in the now, but also, are you holding on to any of that stuff? And
Right.
how is it shaping what you're doing? But it's so significant. And neurodivergence has become a very interesting term. It means so many things. And I definitely am, most people in my family are. And whether that means autism-y stuff or ADHD or creativity or gifted, or there's so many meanings now that it almost has lost its meaning in some ways. So I really don't love labels. I really like to help people get to know who they are and what it means for them. Not that some of those labels can't be like really educational.
At what point then in all the work that you'd been doing that you realized, I have to write this down in a book and get this out to the masses?
When I was going through my recovery when I was 16, I was like, okay, you're going to write a book, you're going to speak, you're going to get to help a lot of people. Fine. Well, of course I put it off because I don't know what the hell I'm doing. When you go through life's crap and shit and all this stuff. And so mid 40s, I find out that I had Lyme disease. I'd had it since I was a kid. I grew up next to Lyme, Connecticut. Finally diagnosed. No one ever diagnosed me, blah, blah, blah. And one of the things I like to teach people and use is, and this is what I did with my eating disorder, is I wrote to it as a friend.
Oh, wow.
I let it write back to me. There's all these techniques in my book. I wrote to it as a friend. And I was like, all right, here you are. What would you like? Why are you bugging the hell out of me? What do you need? How do you need me to help you? What do you need to heal? What's your message? What are we doing here? And so you see it as a team member instead of something that you have to fight or be afraid of or control or have anxiety about. So I did that with the Lyme. And I refuse to say my Lyme or label any of the symptoms with my, but I'm just like, okay, Lyme, hi, what do you want? What are we doing? How can I heal? Because I'm done with all this crap. And it wrote back to me and it said, it's time to write your book proposal finally. If you want to heal, you need to do that. And I'm like, shit. So it was time. I muddled my way through lots of proposals, got help, and found an agent, was very fortunate, went through about 80 million iterations of proposals, and found St. Martin's Press, who really liked the concept and helped me finish the book. And so that's what happened. So if you want to write a book or want to do anything, like if you think you are not capable of it, you'd be surprised what you are capable of.
So true. Did you call upon the guides or were they
heck yeah. Oh yeah. It was like, okay, I really have ADD and I need a little help with that just while I'm writing because I can't focus because there's too much in my head. There's 35 years at that point, 50 something years of experience. Too much was coming at me all at once. Didn't even know how to focus at all or whatever. But I was like, I need help. Please help me write this. And it's like when I used to paint and stuff, the more you let it work through you, let it, meaning your guides and your creativity and stuff, the better the product is and the less you stress about it. And it's funny because I don't remember everything that's in my book. Like,
Wow.
because
Yeah.
I didn't, so much I didn't really write, like I just let it come through me. It's like when I do readings, I will remember if I meet with them again because my guides make me remember, but I don't consciously remember.
I feel the need to share this. So I have a deck of my oracle cards. Again, for me, it's not woo-woo, it's just something fun. And there they were next to my yoga mat this morning. And I looked at them and went, today's a good day to call upon a card again, because I love to do that. And these are the Archangel Fire Oracle cards, Alexandra Wenman. So I did my little thing, shuffle the deck, tap 3 times, and pulled one out. And it was the Archangel Ariel, who is the Archangel of nature and animals. And of course, cultivating love, self-love, which is very ironic that I pulled her. And then, of course, the other night I had a dream about my beloved Ishka, my husky that we unfortunately had to say goodbye to for cancer last March. I'm really impressed, though, that animals come through. And you said, I don't know whether it's a person's name or an animal's name. Is there something different about when an animal is coming through to you or you're feeling the presence? And I'd like to understand that a little bit more.
I love animal readings so much.
Okay.
Sometimes they even come through in the paintings. I will draw person's animal next to the spirit symbolic image of them. They come through that way too. The really fun thing about animals is, first of all, they are here for us. We think we're here to take care of them. It's the opposite. They are here to take care of us. So they take on so many of our traits and our physical symptoms and our pain because they want to shield us. And when I do animal readings, it's very funny because some people will do anything for their animals, so they'll get an animal reading, but they're not really ready to look at themselves, or there's some fear or health anxiety about learning more about themselves. But animals are sneaky. And so they tell me things not only about themselves, but they tell me lots of things about their humans. And it's a very fun way to get the human to talk about their things and what they need to change and what they need to work on, because they don't want their animals to be hurt or harmed or impacted. So if a person is dealing with anxiety, that's a really blanket one, but the animal picks up on that. And then the animal gets sick or something, and the human's like, oh my God, I didn't know I was doing that to them. I don't want to make them sick. What can I do to work on me to help them? And it's a very cool thing.
Wow.
But animals feel just like humans when I work with them. Horses, I know nothing about horses except when I do readings, and they're incredibly fascinating because they're so human. They're almost superhuman. And they feel very much like I'm talking to humans. And I really have no proof of this, but I think that we are reincarnated as each other. So humans and animals reincarnate as each other. That's just my feeling. But yeah, they talk to me just like I'm talking to any other human spirit thing.
Wow. I had disclosed too that my beloved Ishka, she passed of cancer too. Now it makes me think back. And it was rapid. It started off as a small golf ball and engulfed into a grape size on her leg. So it makes me think back. And I'd heard that one once before, and I thought she took on so much. There must have been something within me, or maybe my lineage. I don't know.
Not as a blaming thing. Don't take that on as a blame thing, right? Because we also, it's like when kids get sick, or which is just horrible to think about, but an entire family is impacted by that child or by that pet being sick. So sometimes it's about what are the lessons that an entire family learns, or how maybe because your animal is sick, you slow down, you stop what you're doing, you put your priorities in order, and you make more time to spend with that animal. And the crap that you thought was important maybe isn't. And maybe you're like, I don't need to say yes to that party or to that obligation because I'm going to spend time with my animal. So there's so many lessons.
So many lessons. Oh, gosh. Okay. You said something pretty profound earlier on, and it really deserves the attention because I just love it. And that was, you'll pry hormones from my cold, dead hands. Tell us all about it.
So for me, we are all individuals. My hormones have been wonky for a very long time. I have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which is a connective tissue disorder.
Oh.
And one of the side effects of that, that's a whole show in and of itself, but one of these side effects is that your hormones can get wonky and all sorts of things, PCOS and stuff. So had postpartum depression, but it was a year and a half later. I got put on psych meds. Thank God. My gynecologist was like, no, there's something wrong with your hormones. I was 29, got put on estrogen. Fine. Unopposed estrogen, which a lot of doctors would be like, oh my God, did that kill you? No, I'm still here. That changed my life. And because of that, it helped a lot of different things. And so that made me a believer in helping myself with hormones and with also helping women of all ages be like, just because you're 20 doesn't mean that your hormones are normal. And so, all this kind of stuff. And so I am on an estrogen patch and bioidentical estrogen cream and then bioidentical testosterone from a compounding pharmacy and all that, and DHEA. And for me, it has changed my life in so many ways. So physically, emotionally, spiritually, strength, sex drive, yay. Helped with the weight that weirdly came on my body when I turned 50 that wasn't there before. Just self-confidence. It helps with some of that intense sensitivity. So it helped dull down some of that sensitivity that was overwhelming, that would get in the way of me being able to make decisions and things like that. So it's just helped so many things. And thankfully, more and more doctors are treating with symptoms, based on symptoms, rather than just blood tests. They are treating it as a quality of life issue rather than just getting you through symptoms, because we deserve to feel as good as we possibly can for as long as we possibly can. They give men testosterone and Cialis and all that stuff when they're like 100. So why are we? So I really encourage women to explore those possibilities. Not everybody can do it, but even if you're 60 and one doctor says, oh, you're past menopause, maybe there's stuff you could do, and maybe other doctors wouldn't take that perspective. So for me, it's been a great thing.
I'm glad you shared that, Katie, because yet again, it's another tool in the toolbox of the whole person that we are, to have that quality of life and perform optimally just the way we're meant to be. Independence, aging in place. And that, when we look at it holistically, is responsibility of everybody, because it can be a burden on our healthcare system.
Right.
When we don't honor a person's right to have quality of life and to age in place.
And also the people around us, we're not nice if our hormones are like, it affects everybody.
And that energy transmutes from ourselves to others, and that whole entire ripple effect, which you alluded to earlier. I can't wait to dive into your book. Please tell the listeners where they can find it and where they can find you, and perhaps you'll get a plethora of emails of, my name's Janet and I'm 30. I'm Sam and I'm 64.
I love it. So my book is called Heal from Within, A Guide to Intuitive Wellness. And you can get like every Amazon, it's available everywhere, wherever books are sold. I recommend the book rather than the audio, although a lot of people get both, because there's a ton of visual aids and tools, and there's some examples of some of my paintings in there. And it's designed to go through the workbook and take your time with it, mark it up and all those kind of things. My website is katiebeecher.com. That's where you can go and make your appointment for the readings. There's a couple of different options, and with a report and painting or without or whatever, but there's different options. And I work with people all over the world by Zoom.
This has been such a delight. I am so glad that you found me. And that I just knew that, well, she's definitely someone I need to talk to. So here we are.
I love it. Thank you so much for having me.
Really, thank you so much for your precious time and your energy to share with us here today.
Wow, that was an incredible, powerful, deeply nourishing conversation. And Katie reminds us that healing isn't linear. It isn't even one-dimensional. It's an integration of the physical, emotional, and spiritual parts of ourselves. And her journey as a licensed counselor and a medical intuitive shows just how transformative it can be when we learn to trust our inner guidance. So here are a few key takeaways I got from today's conversation. Number 1, menopause is not a decline, it's an awakening. Katie invited us to see this transition as a portal into self-discovery, a time to reassess who we are, what we need, and what we're no longer willing to carry. Number 2, intuition and self-acceptance are essential tools, and she encourages us to listen inward, honor our desires, and let go of the old beliefs that keep us playing small. Midlife becomes lighter when we stop abandoning ourselves. Number 3, sensitivity is strength. Amen to that. Rather than seeing sensitivity as a flaw, like I did growing up, and probably many of us too, Katie reframed it as a powerful instrument for deeper awareness and connection, so long as we protect that energy and keep healthy boundaries. And number 4, healing requires courage and honesty. And from Katie's own experiences with trauma, caregiving, and hormonal imbalance, she makes it clear we need to address these past wounds, love ourselves fiercely, and ask for support. These are all non-negotiables in our healing journey. And lastly, it wouldn't be a Menopause Disruptor podcast episode if we didn't talk about at least one of the interventions, and this one, hormonal therapy. Hormone therapy is deeply personal, and it's deeply impactful. And Katie opened up about her own hormonal struggles and the life-changing benefits of menopause hormone therapy, highlighting the need for more system-centered care, more nuance, and far more validation for women seeking answers. So if any of this in today's conversation resonated with you, I hope it serves as a reminder too that you're not meant to simply survive midlife. You are meant to evolve through it and to thrive. You're allowed to be curious, intuitive, sensitive, bold, and absolutely beautiful. So grateful to Katie for showing us what it looks like to live with radical self-trust and for giving women permission to embrace their whole selves. And thank you for listening, taking time out of your busy day to listen to this episode. Until next time, stay curious, stay compassionate, and keep disrupting the menopause narrative. If today's insights resonated with you, I'd love for you to be a part of our growing community of menopause disruptors. Hit that subscribe button wherever you're listening right now. And if you know someone who can benefit from these conversations, please share this episode. Sometimes a simple act of sharing can be the first step in someone's healing journey. And hey, if you're ready to take the next step in your menopause journey, I'm here to support you. You can find all my services, including my comprehensive menopause intelligence digital course, one-on-one coaching programs, and workplace education services at mlcoaching.com. It's in the show notes. Want to stay connected and get regular doses of menopause wisdom? Follow me on Instagram at Menopause Disruptor Podcast, where I share tips, insights, and real conversations about navigating this transformative phase of life. Let's continue to disrupt this menopause conversation together. Remember, midlife should be the best life, and it will be. Namaste.